The hum of the fluorescent lights often felt like a second heartbeat in the late hours at Viridian Dynamics, a relentless rhythm that resonated with Alex's own tireless dedication. Alex, a name that carried a quiet strength, was a professional sculpted by passion and an almost obsessive commitment to innovation. In the glittering, glass-encased world of Viridian, where corporate ambition often overshadowed genuine talent, Alex was an anomaly. A brilliant mind tethered not by the pursuit of status, but by an unyielding desire to create something truly impactful. The office, in its daylight guise, appeared to be a vibrant crucible of ideas, a dynamic ecosystem where collaboration was supposedly king. Yet, beneath the veneer of open-plan offices and collaborative pods, a subtle, almost imperceptible current of cutthroat competition flowed, a silent battle for recognition and advancement that Alex, in their initial optimism, had largely overlooked. Alex's workspace, a meticulously organized yet creatively chaotic corner, was a testament to their unique process. Stacks of research papers mingled with vibrant post-it notes, each bearing a fragment of a thought, a nascent concept waiting to be nurtured. The glow of the monitor often cast a solitary halo around Alex's focused silhouette long after most desks had been abandoned, the city lights twinkling in silent judgment outside the panoramic windows. It was in these quiet hours, bathed in the cool digital light, that Alex truly thrived. The silence of the deserted office was not lonely. It was fertile. It was here that ideas, often born from obscure data points or seemingly disparate observations, were painstakingly cultivated, refined, and brought to life. Alex believed deeply in the intrinsic value of these ideas, seeing them not merely as projects, but as extensions of their own intellect and passion. Each successful prototype, each glowing feedback report, fueled a quiet sense of accomplishment, reinforcing the belief that hard work and genuine ingenuity would always, ultimately, prevail. Today, a particularly ambitious project consumed Alex's every waking thought. It was a concept so elegant, so disruptive, that it felt like a living entity taking shape within their mind. Days bled into nights as Alex meticulously crafted every detail, every projection, every potential counter-argument. The idea wasn't just innovative. It promised to redefine a significant segment of Viridian's market, potentially catapulting the company into an entirely new stratum of industry leadership. Alex envisioned the ripple effect, the positive impact on customers, the recognition for the team. There was a pure, unadulterated joy in this creation, a thrill that transcended mere professional gratification. It was the thrill of an architect watching their blueprints transform into a towering structure, a painter seeing their vision leap onto the canvas. During a rare break, Alex wandered to the communal kitchen, the aroma of stale coffee lingering in the air. Mark, a senior colleague known for his slick presentations and even slicker corporate maneuvering, was there, engrossed in a phone call. He offered a curt, almost dismissive nod. Sarah, another peer whose ambition was as sharp as her perfectly tailored suits, was laughing a little too loudly at a nearby desk, her eyes scanning the room as if searching for an audience. Alex offered a polite smile, a gesture that went largely unnoticed. The faces of Viridian Dynamics, the players in a game Alex was only just beginning to understand. At that moment, they were simply colleagues, parts of the larger machine, their true natures yet to be revealed. Alex harbored no ill will, no suspicion, only a professional curiosity and a nascent desire for camaraderie. Returning to their desk, the nascent idea pulsed with renewed vigor. Alex opened a new document, the cursor blinking expectantly. Projection era, a paradigm shift in the words. Flowed, vibrant, and confident, the initial optimism was a powerful driving force, a shield against the subtle undercurrents of the corporate world. Alex believed in the power of good ideas, in the integrity of the process, and in the fundamental fairness of meritocracy. The long hours, the countless revisions, the mental gymnastics, all of it was worth it for the sheer exhilaration of bringing a truly great idea into existence. The journey was arduous, yes, but the destination, the moment of unveiling, promised to be nothing short of triumphant. There was a quiet confidence in Alex's posture, a belief that the ingenuity poured into these projects was a currency that would always be honored. This was Alex's world, a world where ideas were currency and integrity. The unwavering bedrock. The day of the presentation arrived, crisp and charged with an almost palpable energy. Alex felt a familiar flutter of nerves, quickly overshadowed by a surge of excitement. The conference room was a buzz filled with a diverse cross-section of Viridian Dynamics key players, department heads, a few senior VPs, and a smattering of curious colleagues. The air hummed with anticipation, the scent of fresh coffee mingling with the faint aroma of ambition. Alex took a deep breath, adjusted the notes on the podium, and began. The Project Chimera concept, a bold and intricate framework for a new service line, flowed effortlessly from Alex's lips, each word meticulously chosen, each slide a visual masterpiece of data and design. Alex spoke with a quiet authority, their voice resonating with the conviction born of countless late nights and unwavering belief in the project's potential. As Alex detailed the innovative market analysis, the disruptive technology integration, and the projected financial impact, a collective murmur of approval rippled through the room. Heads nodded, eyes widened, and a few senior executives leaned forward, their expressions shifting from polite interest to genuine intrigue. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Brilliant, Alex. Mr. Henderson, the notoriously stoic head of innovation, had boomed, his voice cutting through the polite applause. Truly groundbreaking. This could be a game-changer for us. A wave of relief and profound satisfaction washed over Alex, a warm glow of accomplishment spreading through their chest. This was it. The validation of all those solitary hours. The affirmation that their vision had truly landed. Colleagues offered congratulations, their smiles seeming genuine, their words of praise echoing the sentiment of the room. Alex felt a soaring sense of pride, a quiet triumph that reaffirmed their faith in the meritocratic ideals of the corporate world. Later that week, the afterglow of success still lingered, a comforting warmth. Alex was already diving into the next phase of Project Chimera, energized and optimistic. 10 staff meeting, a routine assembly meant to touch base on ongoing initiatives. Alex settled into a chair near the back, scrolling through emails, half listening to the usual corporate updates. The agenda shifted, and the floor was given to Mark. Alex glanced up, a polite curiosity stirring. Mark, ever the showman, began his presentation with a confident swagger, his voice booming with practiced enthusiasm. As he clicked through his slides, a prickle of unease began to crawl up Alex's spine. Mark was presenting Project Phoenix, a new initiative he proclaimed that would revolutionize client engagement. The strategic pivot. The very language he used to describe the market opportunity, it all sounded unnervingly familiar. Alex's heart began to beat a little faster. Was it just a coincidence? A natural convergence of thought in a competitive industry? Alex tried to rationalize it, to dismiss the growing knot in their stomach. Perhaps Mark had been working on something similar for a while, an independent parallel development. It happened, didn't it? Great minds sometimes thought alike, yet the similarities were too striking to ignore. Mark's Project Phoenix echoed the market analysis Alex had painstakingly crafted for Project Chimera. He even used a similar metaphor, a rebirth from the ashes of outdated methodologies, a phrase Alex had toyed with before. Settling on Chimera, Alex's initial shock slowly morphed into a quiet, internal debate. The details weren't identical. Of course, Mark's presentation lacked some of the intricate technological depth and nuanced financial projections that Alex had built into Chimera. It was a more superficial version, a glossy veneer over a familiar skeleton. But the foundational concept, the spark of genius that defined Chimera, was undeniably present in Phoenix. Alex felt a cold dread begin to seep into their bones. Could it be? No, surely not. Mark had been in the room during Alex's presentation. He had even offered a congratulatory remark, a seemingly sincere, "Great work, Alex." The memory now felt like a cruel irony, A poisoned compliment. Alex spent the rest of the meeting in a daze, the other presentations blurring into an indistinct drone. The initial triumph of Chimera now felt tainted, a bitter aftertaste, lingering where sweetness had been. The seed of doubt, small and insidious, had been planted. It burrowed deep, refusing to be dislodged by logical explanation or wishful thinking. Alex glanced at Mark, who was now basking in the warm glow of management's approval, accepting accolades with an air of modest triumph. A strange, unfamiliar emotion stirred within Alex, a mixture of confusion, frustration, and a nascent, unsettling suspicion. The corporate world, which had seemed so welcoming and fair just days ago, suddenly felt a little colder, a little more predatory. The familiar echo of their own groundbreaking concept, now resonating from Mark's lips, was a discordant note in the symphony of Alex's professional life, a warning bell that Alex, in their innocence, was not yet ready to fully heed. The prickle of unease from Mark's Project Phoenix lingered, a phantom itch beneath Alex's skin. Alex tried to shake it off, dismissing it as professional paranoia, a natural byproduct of intense creative investment. Days turned into weeks, and Alex, ever the innovator, delved into another ambitious endeavor. Nexus, a revolutionary internal communication platform designed to streamline workflows and foster cross-departmental synergy. Nexus was a complex beast, requiring intricate understanding of Viridian's disparate departments and a nuanced approach to user experience. It was a project born from Alex's meticulous observation of workplace inefficiencies, a solution crafted with both technical prowess and empathetic insight. Alex poured countless hours into its development, the architectural plans for Nexus taking shape with the same quiet dedication that had characterized Project Chimera. Alex presented Nexus to a smaller, more focused group department heads and its leads a week later. The reception was, again, overwhelmingly positive. The IT director, a notoriously tough critic, had praised the platform's scalability and intuitive interface. Alex felt a familiar sense of satisfaction, a quiet pride in another idea brought to fruition. The memory of Mark's presentation still pricked, but it had receded, becoming a distant, unsettling memory. Alex was too busy creating, too invested in the next big thing, to dwell on past ambiguities. Their focus remained squarely on the future, on the next problem to solve, the next innovation to pioneer. Then came Sarah's turn. 2 weeks after Alex's Nexus presentation, an email landed in everyone's inbox, announcing a new internal synergy initiative led by Sarah. Alex opened the accompanying presentation with a casual click, expecting a standard corporate update. The casualness evaporated with the first slide. A cold dread, far more intense than the previous unease, began to spread through Alex's chest. Sarah's internal synergy initiative was, to an almost exact degree, the Nexus platform. The core concept, the innovative features, even the proposed implementation phases, they were all there, albeit presented with Sarah's characteristic flair and a slightly different, more generic branding. The meticulously crafted Nexus had been rebranded as Synergy, but the blueprint was undeniably Alex's. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a parallel development. This was a direct, undeniable appropriation. The initial doubt mutated into a gnawing suspicion, a corrosive acid eating away at Alex's foundational trust in the corporate environment. The pattern was now undeniable, stark, and horrifyingly clear. Every time Alex unveiled a truly unique, groundbreaking idea, it reappeared, polished and repackaged under someone else's name. First Mark, now Sarah. The air in the office, once filled with the promise of collaboration, now felt heavy with a suffocating sense of betrayal. Alex felt a profound sense of violation, as if a part of their intellectual self had been surgically removed and presented as another's. The frustration mounted, bubbling into a slow, burning anger. How could this be happening? Was it a calculated act, or were these colleagues simply opportunists preying on Alex's genuine creativity? Alex scrolled through Sarah's presentation again, searching for discrepancies, for any detail that would prove it was merely a strong resemblance. But the more Alex looked, the more the similarities screamed. The unique user interface elements, the specific data integration points, these were not generic concepts. They were the product of Alex's distinct design philosophy. Sarah had even included a case study featuring a department Alex had specifically highlighted as a pilot program during their Nexus presentation. It was too precise, too specific, to be anything but a direct lift. Sleep became elusive. Alex replayed conversations, scrutinizing every casual remark, every seemingly innocent question from Mark and Sarah after their presentations. Had there been subtle probing? Had Alex unknowingly given away too much in unguarded moments? The weight of this realization was crushing. The joy of creation was being systematically stolen, replaced by a bitter sense of injustice. Alex started to meticulously review their past projects, mentally cross-referencing them with other colleagues' public initiatives. Were there other instances that had slipped by, dismissed as mere echoes, but were in fact subtle thefts? The world of Viridian dynamics, once a place of opportunity, now felt like a minefield. Every interaction a potential trap. Alex's enthusiasm, once boundless, began to wane. The late nights no longer felt invigorating. They felt like pointless sacrifices. Why pour so much of oneself into something only for it to be appropriated, its essence twisted and claimed by others? Vibrant colors of Alex's creative world began to dull, replaced by shades of gray. A deep-seated sense of powerlessness began to settle. A chilling realization that their talent, their very intellectual property, was being systematically plundered. The initial doubt had blossomed into a full-blown, undeniable suspicion, leaving Alex with a sinking feeling that the corporate game was far more ruthless than they had ever imagined, and they were, unwittingly, being played for a fool. The wing. Suspicion had solidified into a cold, hard truth. A bitter pill Alex found increasingly difficult to swallow. The vibrant spark of innovation that once propelled Alex forward now flickered under the weight of injustice. Alex knew they couldn't stand by idly. Something had to be done. The first impulse was to confide in a trusted peer, someone who seemed to possess a similar ethical compass. Alex chose Liam, a quiet but respected data analyst, known for his integrity and keen observation skills. They met for coffee, the clatter of ceramic cups and hushed conversations in the cafe providing a thin veil of privacy. Alex carefully recounted the incidents, detailing the eerie similarities between Project Chimera and Mark's Phoenix and the blatant replication of Nexus in Sarah's Synergy initiative. Liam listened intently, his brow furrowed in concentration. That's concerning, Alex, he finally said, his voice low. But are you absolutely sure? Could it just be a strong influence? Similar trends in the industry? Alex felt a wave of frustration. Even Liam, who seemed so understanding, was hesitant to fully grasp the gravity of the situation. Alex explained the unique identifiers, the specific data points, the turns of phrase that could not be mere coincidence. Liam nodded, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. But then he sighed, running a hand through his hair. Look, Alex, I believe you. But proving it? That's another story. Mark and Sarah are pretty well connected. They have powerful sponsors. You go up against them, and it could backfire. Big time. It's a tricky game. His words, though meant as a warning, felt like a quiet dismissal, a reinforcement of Alex's growing isolation. The subtle message was clear. Don't rock the boat. Undeterred, Alex decided to take a more direct approach, albeit still cautious. A meeting was requested with Mr. Harrison, Alex's direct manager. Harrison was a man who prided himself on his open-door policy and team mantra, but his eyes often held a calculating glint. Alex walked into his office, a sterile space filled with framed motivational quotes, the air thick with unspoken expectations. Alex carefully laid out the concerns, presenting a concise, factual account of the stolen ideas, trying to remain objective and professional. Mr. Harrison, Alex began, I've noticed a disturbing pattern regarding some of my recent project proposals. I believe there might be instances of intellectual property appropriation by other team members. Harrison listened, his fingers steepled under his chin, his expression unreadable. When Alex finished, a beat of silence hung in the air. Then, Harrison cleared his throat. "Alex, I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. It's important to foster an environment of trust and integrity here at Viridian." He paused, then continued, his tone shifting subtly, a hint of patronizing concern creeping in. "However, in a dynamic environment like ours, ideas often converge. Great minds think alike. As they say, are you absolutely certain these aren't just strong influences? Perhaps you overheard something, or saw an early draft of their work that might have subconsciously shaped your own concepts." Alex felt a cold wave of disbelief wash over them. Gaslighting. It was a subtle, insidious form of dismissiveness, twisting Alex's perception, making them question their own memory and judgment. "Mr. Harrison," Alex insisted, "the similarities are far beyond mere influence. They extend to specific, unique elements of design and methodology that I developed independently." Harrison waved a dismissive hand. "I understand your frustration, Alex. It's natural to feel protective of your work, but without concrete, undeniable proof, it's very difficult to pursue such accusations. It could create a very toxic work environment. And frankly, I don't want to see you jeopardize your own standing by making unsubstantiated claims against senior colleagues." The words hung in the air like a guillotine. Alex felt a profound sense of helplessness. The corporate structure, which was supposed to uphold fairness, seemed to be actively protecting the perpetrators. Mark and Sarah were perceived as their successes, albeit stolen, contributing to the department's metrics, bolstering Harrison's own reputation. To investigate Alex's claims would mean disrupting the status quo, questioning established successes, and potentially exposing a rot within the system, something Harrison clearly had no appetite for. He valued placid order over inconvenient truth. Alex was effectively being told to let it go, to swallow the injustice for the sake of corporate harmony. Walking out of Harrison's office, the weight of the corporate wall pressed down on Alex, a suffocating realization that the system was rigged. The initial hope of resolution had been brutally crushed, replaced by a bitter cynicism. The feeling of isolation deepened, leaving Alex with a chilling understanding that they were entirely on their own. The whispers of colleagues, the dismissiveness of management, it all coalesced into an impenetrable barrier. The corporate machine, with its polished facade, had just delivered a stark message. Your integrity, your intellectual property, means less than the comfort of the powerful. The frustration turned into a quiet, simmering rage, a dangerous undercurrent beneath Alex's calm exterior. Powerlessness was now evolving, slowly but surely, into a fierce resolve. The dismissive words of Mr. Harrison, echoing in Alex's mind, felt like the final blow. The corporate wall wasn't just impenetrable, it was actively pushing back, its smooth, unyielding surface reflecting Alex's despair back at them. Alex hit rock bottom. The joy of creating, the very essence of their professional identity, had been systematically stripped away, replaced by a hollow ache of betrayal and frustration. The long nights, once filled with exhilarating bursts of creativity, now felt like a cruel joke. What was the point of pouring heart and soul into ideas only for them to be pilfered, repackaged, and presented as someone else's triumph? A profound sense of defeat settled over Alex, heavy and suffocating. Thoughts of quitting, of simply walking away from Viridian dynamics and the corporate world altogether, began to swirl persistently. The thought of a fresh start, of escaping this toxic environment, was tempting, a siren song promising peace, but it was also a surrender, an admission that the thieves had won, that true innovation and integrity could indeed be permanently silenced. One particularly bleak evening, Alex sat alone in their apartment, the city lights a distant, indifferent blur. The latest email, a company-wide announcement celebrating Sarah's internal synergy initiative Alex's Nexus, flashed mockingly on the laptop screen. A wave of nausea washed over Alex, followed by a sudden, intense surge of something else. Not despair, but a cold, crystalline anger. It wasn't the hot, impulsive anger that leads to rash decisions, but a slow-burning, resolute fury. It was the anger of someone pushed too far. Someone who realized that retreating was no longer an option. The face of Mr. Harrison, with his condescending smile and veiled threats, materialized in Alex's mind, followed by Mark's smug confidence and Sarah's self-assured appropriation. The injustice, once annoying, pain, now felt like a steel rod, hardening Alex's spine. "No," Alex whispered, the word a fierce vow echoing in the quiet room. "I will not let them win." This was the spark, the turning point. The desire for peace was replaced by an unyielding hunger for justice. The role of victim, passively enduring the corporate plunder, was shed like an old skin. In its place, a new identity began to emerge, that of a strategist, a meticulous planner, a quiet force determined to reclaim what was stolen. The frustration, once a debilitating weight, now transformed into a powerful fuel, igniting a brilliant, albeit risky, plan within Alex's mind. Alex understood the game now. Direct confrontation was futile. The corporate structure was a labyrinth designed to protect its own, to maintain its polished facade, even if that meant sacrificing integrity. To fight back, Alex realized required a different approach, one that used the thieves' own methods against them. It needed to be undeniable, irrefutable, a trap so perfectly constructed that denial would be impossible. The beauty of the plan, even in its nascent form, was its elegance, to turn the very act of theft into the instrument of their downfall. Alex would not just expose them. Alex would make them expose themselves. The initial vague outline began to sharpen. Alex would need to bait them, to create ideas so tempting, so seemingly perfect, that Mark and Sarah wouldn't be able to resist. But these ideas would be Trojan horses, subtly embedded with unique identifiers, digital fingerprints that would scream Alex to anyone who bothered to look closely enough. It would require meticulous planning, an almost theatrical precision, and an iron will to see it through. The risk was immense. Failure would not only mean the loss of their ideas, but potentially their entire career, branded as a delusional troublemaker. But the alternative, continued silence, continued theft, was no longer an option. The thought of walking away had vanished, replaced by a fierce determination to fight, to make a stand, not just for themselves, but for the principle of fair play. Alex's mind, once clouded by despair, now buzzed with renewed clarity, a laser-like focus on the intricate details of the impending counterattack. The brilliant, albeit risky, plan began to coalesce, thread by careful thread, into a formidable strategy. It was a plan born not of malice, but of a profound sense of justice, a belief that true innovation, when coupled with integrity, could never be permanently silenced. The quiet architect, once unseen, was now preparing to build a trap that would shock them all. The transformation within Alex was profound. The despair had receded, replaced by a cool, calculating resolve. The corporate chessboard, once a source of frustration, now became a landscape for strategic maneuvering. Alex understood that the next move had to be precise, irresistible, and ultimately damning. The plan began with crafting the dummy ideas, concepts so subtly engineered they would be like perfect, glittering lures for the unsuspecting thieves. These weren't throwaway concepts. They had to appear brilliant, fully formed, and genuinely valuable, yet contain hidden, unique identifiers, intellectual fingerprints that would expose their true origin. Alex decided on two such ideas, each designed to appeal to Mark and Sarah's distinct predatory instincts. The first, quantum leap analytics, was a sophisticated AI data analysis framework that promised unprecedented insights into consumer behavior. It was complex, groundbreaking, and exactly the kind of high-profile, market-disrupting concept Mark would salivate over. The beauty of Quantum Leap lay in its intricate methodology, which Alex deliberately infused with a unique, almost poetic, naming convention for its algorithms. The Seraphim sequence, the Oracle protocol phrases, Alex had invented solely for this project, distinct and memorable enough to be undeniable markers. For Sarah, whose focus leaned more towards operational efficiency and internal restructuring, Alex devised Synergy Nexus 2.0, a subtly ironic nod to the previous theft. This was a comprehensive, multi-phase employee engagement and performance optimization model, promising a dramatic boost in productivity and team cohesion within Synergy Nexus 2.0. Alex embedded a fictional, yet meticulously detailed, tiered incentive matrix that included specific, non-gamified elements and a unique feedback loop cycle with deliberately chosen, abstract phase names like echo chamber analysis and resonance mapping. These were the subtle, unique identifiers, the carefully placed tripwire. Crafting these baits was an art form in itself. Alex pored over every detail, ensuring the concepts were robust enough to pass initial scrutiny, yet contained the subtle, unique flaws or linguistic quirks that would serve as irrefutable proof. The non-critical flaws were particularly ingenious. A slight overestimation in a projected ROI that would be easily overlooked in the initial excitement, or a minor, almost imperceptible logical jump in a methodological step that wouldn't hinder the overall appeal but would confirm its dummy status to an expert eye. These flaws were like hidden signatures, visible only to the true architect and those who would later investigate, with the baits meticulously prepared. The next phase was the strategic leaking. This required a delicate touch, an almost surgical precision to ensure the usual suspects. Mark and Sarah were the primary discoverers. Alex began by accidentally leaving a draft of Quantum Leap Analytics open on their laptop screen during a lunch break, positioned just so that Mark, known for his habit of lingering near unattended workstations, couldn't help but notice. Alex also casually mentioned some highly exciting aspects of the project during a seemingly innocuous water cooler conversation, ensuring it was just loud enough for Mark, who happened to be passing by, to overhear. For Sarah, the approach was slightly different. Alex shared a preliminary, anonymized version of Synergy Nexus 2.0 in a departmental cloud folder marked Drafts Internal Brainstorming. Knowing Sarah had a reputation for browsing such folders for inspiration, Alex also subtly introduced fragments of the project's unique terminology into casual team discussions, allowing Sarah to pick up on the brilliant ideas as if they were common knowledge, ripe for the taking. The goal was to make the ideas appear organically discoverable, ensuring Mark and Sarah felt they were simply being astute, seizing an opportunity that Alex, in their perceived naivety, had carelessly left exposed. The waiting game was excruciating. Each shared glance, each passing comment from Mark or Sarah, was scrutinized by Alex. A quiet tension thrummed beneath Alex's calm exterior. Every action was calculated, every word chosen with deliberate intent. Alex meticulously documented every step of the leaking process. Timestamps of shared files, dates of accidental overheards, specific phrases used in casual conversations. This was not just about exposing the thieves. It was about building an unassailable case, a fortress of evidence that would leave no room for doubt or denial. The bait was set, the trap carefully laid. Now, Alex could only wait for the hungry predators to take the lure. The bait, meticulously crafted and strategically placed, proved irresistible. Mark, with his insatiable appetite for high-impact projects, was the first to take the lure. Days after Alex had accidentally left Quantum Leap Analytics on display, Mark began to exhibit subtle changes in his demeanor. His walk gained an extra bounce, his smile a touch more. Alex observed him, a quiet, almost clinical detachment guiding their gaze. Then came the email. Mark announces new initiative, Project Zenith, a new era of data insight. Alex opened the attachment, a grim satisfaction settling in. There it was, Project Zenith, a thinly veiled replica of Quantum Leap Analytics, complete with Alex's unique Seraphim sequence and Oracle protocol algorithms, albeit slightly rephrased to mask the blatant theft. Mark, in his arrogance, had swallowed the bait whole. Sarah followed suit, predictably. Within a week of the Synergy Nexus 2.0 feat draft being discovered in the shared folder, an internal memo circulated, authored by Sarah, touting her new workforce harmonization program. Alex noted the familiar language, the detailed, tiered incentive matrix, and the distinct echo chamber analysis and resonance mapping phases of the feedback loop cycle. Sarah, too, had fallen into the trap, her confidence in her own perceived cleverness blinding her to the subtle tripwires Alex had embedded. The plan was unfolding with chilling precision. Alex, however, was no longer the frustrated victim. They were a meticulous detective, a silent observer gathering evidence with an almost obsessive focus. Every single interaction, every digital footprint, every casual remark was a piece of the puzzle, painstakingly documented and catalogued. Alex's personal laptop, now a secure vault, became home to an ever-growing dossier. For Mark's theft, Alex Cross referenced the timestamp of their original Quantum Leap document creation against the date of Mark's Project Zenith. Announcement. Alex had even taken a discreet screenshot of Mark's screen on the day he'd discovered the open laptop, showing a split-second glimpse of Alex's project title. Subtle, but undeniable. The unique algorithmic names were highlighted, contrasted against Mark's slightly altered, yet clearly derivative, terminology. The evidence against Sarah was equally damning. Alex had tracked the access logs for the draft's internal brainstorming folder, noting Sarah's multiple visits prior to her workforce harmonization program announcement. Screenshots of her presentation, placed side by side with Alex's Synergy Nexus 2.0 slides, showcased the identical tiered incentive matrix and the distinct feedback loop cycle phases. Alex even found a colleague, unaware of the broader scheme, who casually mentioned Sarah had been very excited about some new ideas she'd found in a shared folder just days before her big announcement. This was a crucial, unwitting witness account, adding a human element to the digital trail. Alex's days became a careful ballet of professional interaction and covert evidence gathering. The tension was immense, a constant thrumming beneath their skin. Every time Mark or Sarah spoke about their new projects with an air of proprietary pride, Alex had to steel their nerves, maintaining a composed facade while internally cataloging their words, noting how they confidently articulated ideas that were fundamentally stolen. Alex even started recording some internal virtual meetings where Mark and Sarah detailed their projects, capturing their voices, their exact phrasing, to further cement the connection to Alex's original, uniquely identified concepts. The dossier grew thicker, a testament to Mark and Sarah's audacious thievery and Alex's methodical precision. It wasn't just about showing similarities, it was about demonstrating a pattern, a systemic appropriation. Alex Cross referenced the dates of their original presentations of Chimera and Nexus with Mark's Phoenix and Sarah's Synergy, illustrating a clear, consistent timeline of theft. The pieces of the puzzle were fitting together, forming an irrefutable narrative of intellectual property theft. The web was tightening, strand by careful strand, around the unsuspecting perpetrators. Alex could feel the shift, the growing power emanating from the meticulously compiled evidence. The quiet architect was no longer building ideas. They were building a case, a foundation of truth, designed to withstand any denial. The stage was almost set, and the grand unveiling loomed, promising a reckoning that would indeed shock them all. The air in the executive boardroom was thick with anticipation, heavy with the weight of high stakes and glittering careers. Key stakeholders, including the CEO, the head of innovation, and several board members, were present, their expressions a mix of keen interest and critical assessment. This was the quarterly innovation review, a pivotal moment for demonstrating progress and securing future investment. Mark and Sarah stood confidently at the front, a united front of corporate ambition, their smiles wide and practiced. They were about to present Project Zenith and the Workforce Harmonization Program, Alex's seeded ideas, as their crowning achievements. The room hummed with the soft click of laptops and the rustle of papers, a prelude to what Mark and Sarah believed would be their moment of glory. Mark began, his voice resonant, his presentation slides for Project Zenith slick and visually impressive. He spoke of unprecedented data insights and revolutionary algorithmic sequences, confidently detailing the Seraphim Sequenza and Oracle protocol, terms Alex had painstakingly invented. Sarah followed, equally poised, her workforce harmonization program slides highlighting the tiered incentive matrix and the echo chamber analysis that were undeniably Alex's. The stakeholders listened, impressed, heads nodded. Approvingly. Approvingly. The CEO, Miss Vivian Hayes, a woman known for her shrewd business acumen, even offered a rare, appreciative smile. Mark and Sarah exchanged a smug, victorious glance, their confidence soaring. They were about to bask in the warm glow of success, their reputations as innovators cemented. Just as Sarah concluded her segment, her voice ringing with finality, and the applause was about to erupt. A calm, clear voice cut through the burgeoning noise. "Excuse me," Alex said, stepping forward from the back of the room, a tablet clutched firmly in their hand. The room, which had been on the verge of celebratory murmurs, fell into an abrupt, stunned silence. All eyes swiveled to Alex, then to Mark and Sarah, who looked utterly bewildered, their triumphant expressions slowly dissolving into confusion. Mr. Harrison, Alex's manager, shifted uncomfortably in his seat, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. Alex, their voice steady despite the seismic shift in the room's atmosphere, continued, "Before we proceed with the next agenda item, I believe there's a crucial clarification needed regarding the projects just presented by Mark and Sarah." Mark's face flushed, a vein throbbing visibly in his temple. Sarah's jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing in a mixture of anger and dawning fear. "Alex, what is the meaning of this?" Mark demanded, his voice laced with thinly veiled hostility. "This is entirely inappropriate." On the contrary, Mark Ellis responded, their gaze unwavering. "This is entirely necessary." Alex calmly projected their tablet screen onto the main display, instantly replacing Mark and Sarah's final slide with their own. The room gasped. On Alex's screen, two documents were displayed, side by side: Mark's Project Zenith and Alex's original Quantum Leap Analytics. Alex's document clearly showed a creation timestamp predating Mark's by several weeks. "Here, you see my original proposal for Quantum Leap Analytics, created on date X." Alex narrated, pointing to the screen. "Note the unique algorithmic naming conventions, the Seraphim sequence, and the Oracle protocol. Now, observe Mark's presentation, where these exact, unique terms have been appropriated and presented as his own." The CEO leaned forward, her expression morphing from curiosity to severe scrutiny. Alex didn't stop there. "Furthermore," Alex continued, clicking to the next slide, "I have evidence of Mark accessing my workstation on date Y, where this very document was openly displayed." A discreet, time-stamped screenshot of Mark near Alex's desk, with Alex's open laptop screen faintly visible, flashed on the display. Mark's face went white, his confident posture crumbling. Sarah, meanwhile, looked on in horror, a cold realization dawning on her face. Then came Sarah's turn. Alex presented similar side-by-side comparisons of Synergy Nexus 2.0 and Sarah's Workforce Harmonization Program, highlighting the identical tiered incentive matrix and the distinct echo chamber analysis. "My original concept," Alex stated, "was uploaded to a shared folder on date A, with Sarah accessing it multiple times prior to her announcement on date B." Alex displayed the access logs, undeniable proof of Sarah's prior viewing. "These are not coincidences. This is a clear and systematic pattern of intellectual property theft, a pattern that extends to my earlier projects, Project Chimera and Nexus, which were similarly appropriated by Mark and Sarah, respectively." Alex then briefly displayed the cross-referenced, showing the consistent pattern of theft over months. The room erupted in a collective gasp, a wave of shock washing over everyone. The CEO's face was a mask of furious disbelief. Mark and Sarah stood frozen, their carefully constructed facades shattering into fragments. Mark stammered, This is a fabrication. A malicious attack." Sarah looked utterly devastated, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for an escape. Colleagues whispered, their voices a rising tide of outrage and astonishment. Mr. Harrison, Alex's manager, looked as if Eddie been struck, his face a mixture of shock and profound embarrassment. The shocked-them-all moment had arrived. a cataclysmic unveiling of deceit that laid bare the ugly truth beneath Viridian's polished exterior. The silence that followed Alex's final words was deafening, heavy with the weight of shattered trust and undeniable proof. The immediate aftermath of Alex's grand unveiling was the high-stakes presentation dissolved into chaos. The meticulously planned agenda utterly derailed. Ms. Hayes, the CEO, her face a storm cloud of anger, brought the meeting to an abrupt halt. "This meeting is adjourned," she announced, her voice cutting through the stunned murmurs. "Mark, Sarah, Alex, you will all remain. The rest of you dismissed." The room emptied quickly, colleagues casting bewildered, horrified glances at the trio left behind. The air crackling with the unspoken implications of Alex's revelations. Mark and Sarah, their faces ashen, attempted a desperate, futile defense. Mark, regaining a sliver of his usual bluster, stammered, "This is an outrageous smear campaign." Ms. Hayes, "Alex is clearly unstable, making wild accusations to sabotage our success." Sarah, though visibly shaken, tried to echo his sentiment. "It's baseless, a misunderstanding. Ideas evolve, they overlap, but their words rang hollow, thin, and unconvincing." Against the undeniable weight of Alex's meticulously presented evidence, Alex stood calm and resolute, a quiet force amidst the escalating panic of the two exposed thieves. Ms. Hayes, however, was not swayed by their theatrics. Her gaze was cold, sharp, and utterly unforgiving. "The evidence presented, Mark, Sarah, is far from baseless. The timestamps, the unique identifiers, the access logs, they paint a very damning picture. Your explanations are insufficient and, frankly, insulting to our intelligence." Mr. Harrison, who had initially tried to interject with placating murmurs, was now visibly squirming, his earlier dismissal of Alex's concerns hanging heavy in the air. His career, too, was now on shaky ground. Ms. Hayes turned her glacial gaze on him. "Mr. Harrison, we will be having a separate, rather intense conversation about your oversight in this matter." He visibly flinched, all his corporate confidence evaporating. The immediate focus, however, was on Mark and Sarah. Were escorted out of the boardroom, their protests growing weaker, their faces etched with public humiliation. Their professional reputations, painstakingly built on borrowed glory, had shattered in an instant, leaving behind only the rubble of their deceit. News of the dramatic expos spread through Viridian Dynamics like wildfire. Whispers turned into open discussions, disbelief giving way to outrage. The office dynamics shifted palpably. Mark and Sarah's names, once associated with success, were now synonymous with shame and treachery. Colleagues who had once admired or envied their rapid ascent now avoided eye contact, their faces reflecting a mix of shock at the audacity of the deception and a quiet sense of vindication for Alex. The atmosphere was thick with tension, a lingering unease, but also a palpable sense of justice. Many felt a quiet satisfaction that the corporate bullies had finally been brought down, their reign of intellectual plunder brought to an abrupt and spectacular end. Viridian Dynamics, keen to protect its reputation and to project an image of integrity, moved swiftly. An internal investigation was launched immediately. Led by an independent ethics committee, Mark and Sarah were placed on immediate administrative leave pending disciplinary proceedings. The evidence Alex had compiled was so comprehensive, so irrefutable, that their fate was sealed. Termination and potentially legal action loomed large over their futures. The company's legal department began reviewing Alex's original projects, now officially recognized as Alex's rightful intellectual property. For Alex, the immediate aftermath brought a strange mix of relief and profound exhaustion. The adrenaline that had fueled them through weeks of meticulous planning and covert operations now receded, leaving behind a deep weariness. Yet, beneath the fatigue, there was a quiet, profound satisfaction. The injustice had been exposed. The truth had prevailed. The burden that had weighed so heavily on Alex's shoulders for months had finally been lifted. The quiet triumph was not just for themselves, but for the principle that integrity, however difficult its path, ultimately finds a way to assert itself. The office, though still buzzing with the aftershocks of the revelation, no longer felt like a hostile battleground. It felt, for the first time in a long time, like a place where true talent might finally be recognized. In the weeks that followed the dramatic boardroom confrontation, the dust slowly began to settle, leaving behind a transformed landscape at Viridian Dynamics. The swift actions taken by Ms. Hayes and the Ethics Committee sent a clear, unequivocal message: intellectual theft would not be tolerated. Mark and Sarah were formally terminated. Their careers at Viridian, and likely in the industry, effectively over. The repercussions of their actions served as a stark warning, a chilling reminder of the value of integrity. Alex's vindication was absolute and public. Ms. Hayes herself requested a private meeting, extending a sincere, unreserved apology. "Alex," she began, her voice earnest, "what you endured was unacceptable. Your courage in bringing this to light has not only righted a grievous wrong, but has also exposed a critical flaw in our internal safeguards. For that, and for your unwavering dedication and talent, Viridian Dynamics owes you a profound debt of gratitude." The apology was heartfelt, and Alex felt a profound sense of closure, the last vestiges of bitterness finally dissolving. But the recognition didn't stop at apologies. Alex was not merely vindicated. They were celebrated. Within days, an official announcement circulated, promoting Alex to a newly created role: Director of Innovation Integrity and Future Concepts. This wasn't just a title. It came with significantly increased autonomy, a substantial raise, and a mandate to lead a new, high-prior division dedicated to incubating groundbreaking ideas. Project Chimera and Nexus, now fully recognized as Alex's creations, were fast-tracked for implementation with Alex at the helm. It was a complete reversal of fortune, a dramatic testament to the power of perseverance and truth. Beyond the personal triumphs, Alex's ordeal catalyzed a profound shift in Viridian Dynamics' corporate culture. New, robust protocols were implemented to protect intellectual property. A creative submission registry was established, ensuring every original idea was formally documented and time-stamped. Mandatory ethics training was introduced with a specific focus on intellectual property rights. A new innovation ombudsman role was created, providing a confidential channel for employees to report concerns without fear of reprisal. These changes, explicitly credited to Alex's courage and sacrifice, fundamentally reshaped the company's internal environment, fostering a culture of trust and genuine collaboration that had been sorely lacking. Alex reflected on the journey, the pain, the frustration, and the ultimate triumph. It had been a crucible, a test of resilience that had pushed them to their limits. But through it all, Alex had discovered an inner strength, an unwavering conviction in their own worth and the righteousness of their cause. The cynicism that had briefly clouded their vision had been replaced by a renewed, more mature optimism, one tempered by experience, but no less potent. The joy of creation, once stolen, now burned brighter than ever, fueled by the knowledge that their work was not only valued, but protected. The office dynamic had transformed completely. Colleagues now approached Alex with genuine respect, some even with a touch of awe. The whispers were no longer about stolen ideas, but about Alex's incredible resolve. Alex was no longer the unseen architect, but a beacon of integrity, a symbol that justice, though its paths may be tortuous, always finds a way to prevail. The future at Viridian Dynamics, once uncertain and fraught with hidden dangers, now stretched out before Alex, bright and full of boundless possibilities. The vindication was not just professional, it was personal, a deep affirmation that their true innovation and integrity could never be permanently silenced. The hum of the fluorescent lights at Viridian Dynamics still resonated through the building. But for Alex, its rhythm had changed. It no longer felt like a relentless, suffocating beat, but a vibrant pulse, a heartbeat of genuine innovation. Weeks had turned into months since the dramatic boardroom confrontation, and the landscape of Viridian Dynamics had been irrevocably transformed. Alex's new office, a spacious corner suite with panoramic views of the city, was a stark physical manifestation of this change. It wasn't opulent, but it was light-filled, functional, and most importantly, truly Alex's own. Stacks of research papers still mingled with colorful post-it notes, a testament to Alex's enduring creative chaos. But now they were surrounded by an air of protection and respect that had been tragically absent before. As the newly appointed Director of Innovation, Integrity, and Future Concepts, Alex's days were a whirlwind of activity, yet they were infused with a profound sense of purpose. The division Alex now led was a vibrant crucible of ideas. But unlike the old Viridian, collaboration was truly king here. There were no hidden agendas, no subtle currents of cutthroat competition. Instead, Alex fostered an environment of open communication, where every idea was valued, every contribution celebrated, and every individual's intellectual property fiercely guarded. Alex remembered the suffocating isolation of those late nights, the cold, digital light casting a solitary halo around their silhouette. Now, those hours were shared, often with a dedicated team whose passion mirrored Alex's own, their collective energy igniting a synergy that felt truly revolutionary. Project Chimera, now officially renamed Viridian Vanguard, was thriving under Alex's direct leadership. The new service line, once a stolen blueprint, was now a tangible reality, exceeding all initial projections and redefining its market segment. Nexus, rebranded as Viridian Connect, had revolutionized internal communication, streamlining workflows and fostering a sense of unity across departments that had previously been fragmented. Seeing these projects, once sources of such bitter betrayal, now flourish under their rightful stewardship, brought Alex a quiet, profound joy. It was the joy of an architect, watching their blueprints transform into a towering structure, not just built, but protected and cherished. Alex's creative process, once dimmed by cynicism, now burned brighter than ever. Ideas flowed freely, unburdened by the fear of appropriation. There was a renewed confidence, a quiet certainty that their ingenuity would not only be recognized, but actively championed. One afternoon, as Alex was sketching out a nascent concept for a sustainable energy initiative, Project Evergreen, they felt a familiar thrill, a pure, unadulterated joy in creation. But this time, it was accompanied by an unshakable sense of security, knowing that Evergreen, with its intricate methodologies and unique naming conventions, would remain unequivocally Alex's colleagues. Now approached Alex with genuine respect, a stark contrast to the dismissive nods of the past. Liam, the data analyst who had initially been hesitant to believe Alex's claims, was now a staunch ally, often seeking Alex's counsel on ethical dilemmas and collaborative strategies. "You really changed things, Alex," Liam had remarked one day, a genuine admiration in his voice. "It's like a different company." These interactions, built on trust and mutual respect, were as rewarding as any professional accolade, reaffirming Alex's belief that true camaraderie was possible even in the corporate world. During a rare moment of quiet reflection, gazing out at the city lights twinkling below, Alex often found their thoughts drifting back to the ordeal. The memory of Mark's smug confidence, Saram's self-assured appropriation, and Mr. Harrison's condescending dismissal still pricked. But the sting had faded, replaced by a deep understanding. That period of despair, of feeling utterly powerless, had been a crucible. It had stripped away Alex's naive optimism, replacing it with a steely resolve and a keen strategic mind. The pain had forged a stronger, more strategic professional, one who understood the corporate game not just as a creator, but as a player capable of navigating its treacherous depths. "I will not let them win." Alex's whispered vow from that bleak evening now echoed as a triumphant affirmation. The path had been arduous, fraught with doubt and immense risk, but it had led here, to a place where integrity was not just a buzzword, but the bedrock of the company's culture. The new protocols, the creative submission registry, the mandatory ethics training, the innovation ombudsman, were not mere formalities. They were living, breathing safeguards, ensuring that no other innovative mind at Viridian Dynamics would suffer the same fate as Alex had. Ms. Hayes, the CEO, remained a formidable ally, her support unwavering, a testament to Viridian's commitment to truly valuing its talent. Alex understood now that true success wasn't just about groundbreaking ideas. It was about the integrity with which those ideas were conceived, developed, and brought to fruition. It was about the courage to stand up for what was right, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. The corporate world, with its polished facade, could be ruthless, but it was not impregnable. With smart thinking, meticulous planning, and an unshakable belief in justice, even the most entrenched deceit could be exposed. The quiet architect, once unseen and unheard, had not only built innovative concepts, but had also rebuilt a culture, proving that while the path was difficult, it ultimately paved the way for true, lasting success. The future stretched out before Alex, bright and full of boundless possibilities. The joy of creation, once stolen, now burned brighter than ever, fueled by the knowledge that their work was not only valued, but fiercely protected. Alex's journey was a powerful testament. True innovation, coupled with unwavering integrity, could never be permanently silenced. It would always find a way, however tortuous, to prevail, shocking them all with its undeniable brilliance.